Welcome to it, sports fans. The MKT Show. I am MKT. Cliff Central Sport. That's Gareth Cliff. This is Cliff Central Sport. It is the MKT Show. Monday, the 7th. Good to be here. Great sporting weekend. And hey, hate to say I told you so, but I mean, Errol Spence is a different beast. He's a different animal. Danny Garcia, Fred, the welterweight's tough because it's probably the one division where size actually matters. In the middleweight, super middleweight, you get a big middleweight, big super. But I mean, Spence walked in there looking probably closer to that sort of 160, 165 mark once he rehydrates. And I don't think Danny Garcia had a chance, to be honest with you. And Swift has power in the right hand, but it was never close. It was never close. Might be time to reboot for Danny Swift Garcia, but great fight. I love boxing. Love when there's a special fight on Anthony Joshua this weekend. Looking forward to that. But let's talk about what we do here. Premier League, Spurs Arsenal. We'll start off with that. And I'll tell you, for Man United, there was good and there was bad news in their comeback victory against West Ham. So I'll tell you what I think the bad news is. Give you some good news, give you some bad news. Like, share, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. Cliff Central Sport on all social media platforms. I am MKT. That's Mike Kilo Tango. If you speak the NATO alphabet, MKT inspires on all social media. Alrighty. Let's get into it. Spurs Arsenal. Hey, when we walk around in life, and I think we've probably all got a friend like this, we may be this person. If we don't have this friend, maybe you are this friend. When you see a good-looking person, they have a solid job, they have a nice family, why is this person single? Outside of, some people want to be single, fair enough. But, you often have friends, good-looking, good job. She's got a good job. He's got a good job. But they're single and I can't meet a good person. And then they turn 25, 26, and they become 30. And then you hear they're already on their first divorce. And you see them 5 years later again, good looking, still working well, really excelling in their job, still single, second divorce. And you're like, how is this happening? Right? But I guess what tends to happen is if you're good looking, life tends to go well for you. And you actually get away with a lot, You get away, you schmooze your way out of situations. But in real life's not honeymoon. All right? In the honeymoon, I can't tell if you're a good partner. I can't tell what you're going to do when our kids are sick, when my mother's sick. I don't know what you're going to do in that situation. Because in the honeymoon, everyone's a great partner. Everyone's great at getting room service. Right? This is why I always say system over talent, character over talent. Because 9 months into the relationship now, and it's winter, and I'm late for work, and my boss is on my case, and there's pressure at work, and you're sick, and my mom's sick, and the kids, life is happening, is what are you like then? Because that's when you need a partner, right? Okay, everyone's great on honeymoon. And here's the thing. To anybody who thinks breaking up with people every 3 months, every time you have a fight, you get a divorce, you break up. Eventually, people see that. And I don't care how good looking you are. Nobody wants to be with a flaky person. There's nobody on this planet. Listen, if you're 20, maybe. 25, maybe. 28, trust me, I'm 34. I don't like flaky people. I'm getting old now. I'm not ancient, but I'm starting to get to that age where have some character. I don't like flaky. Like, you want to turn me off? Show me a CV that tells me in the last 12 months you've had 5 jobs. Like, that's not exciting to me. That's not dynamic. And it's a different time. Maybe I'm getting old, but I'm an old school guy then. So be it. I'm big on loyalty and I'm big on getting through things. Right? Is have some character. When things are hard, you stay. But if you don't stay, then you're flaky, and then people know that. The older people get, the more we can see, oh no, she's a terrible person. He's a terrible person. No wonder no wonder she's on her 4th divorce and she's 40. She's awful. She drinks too much. Yeah, she's awful. She's manipulative. Nobody wants that. Ultimately, it's a matter of growing up. And I said it on Friday. Arsenal fans need to grow up. Grow up. Life is as it is, not how you want it to be. And like in a relationship, right? You can't get divorced every time there's a fight. Nobody wants to marry that person eventually. You can do that once or twice, 3 times max. Nobody wants to marry the lady who's been divorced 3 times. I don't care how good looking Scarlett Johansson is. 3rd divorce, I'm sorry. We're out. Move on. Arsenal now have a serious problem. Grow up. You are no longer the Invincibles. Arsene Wenger was a problem. Okay, let's accept that. Arsene Wenger stayed too long. Okay, let's accept that. Arsene Wenger bred mediocrity into Arsenal. Okay, let's accept that. Because when you accept that, then you can see your Arsenal for what they are now, which is a mid-table club. And by mid-table, I always say, below 8th, you're mid-table. Don't give me, we're 7th. Don't give me that. 7th, between 7th and not getting relegated, that's the middle of the table for me. And if you're a grown-up, you accept what you are. Because once you've accepted what you are, then you can set your ambitions. Do Arsenal want to be top 4? All right? If Arsenal want to be top 4, from here you say, it's not Mikel Arteta's fault. I said this on Friday. Grow up. You need to grow up. Adults, grow up and swallow the bitter pill early, because then you can help yourself. Then you can help your family. Then you can help your colleagues. But if you're lying and you don't know what you are, it doesn't help. You can't help yourself from a position where you're not a grown-up. Grow up, Arsenal fans. You are now part of that sort of Leicester, Aston Villa mix. And that's not me saying it now. That's been over 17 years, for goodness sake. Stop telling me you got into the top 4. If that's what you're playing for, so do Leicester. So do Spurs. I told you on Friday, right? What did I say? I said Spurs at the moment are certainly a better club. Maybe not bigger, because people love the history and our trophies and blah, blah, blah. But Spurs are the better club. For the last 4 years, they finished above you. 4 years is an Olympic cycle. By the way, in 4 years, you can get maybe 5 divorces in this day and age. In 4 years, we could have 3 more pandemics. For 4 years, I'm sorry, that is not an anomaly. That is a pattern, and that is the way it is now. North London is white, except that I said they'd win 3-1. That was my call if you watched on Friday. Right? It's not Arteta's fault. And this is what grown-ups do. They accept the truth. Let me tell you something. If you want to see what the problem is, and that it's the player's fault, in life, look for patterns, right? If you're a grown-up, look for patterns. Stop romanticizing things. And I know everybody wants to romanticize every Sally and Skumbuzo and, oh, I see the best in them. But look for patterns. If you want to know what people are, is take their 7-day schedule, but let's say 5-day schedule. Look at their diary, and where do they spend their time? That's what they are, right? And Arsenal are this. Because we want to boil it down. What is the Arsenal's core character? Unai Emery came in, first 20 games unbeaten. Honeymoon, right? Honeymoon. After that, fell off a cliff, lost Europa League final. It was a mess. All right? Emery sacked the next season. Mikel Arteta, what happened? First 6 months, win the FA Cup, and what's going on now? Because the honeymoon's over. And then when the honeymoon's over, what they call the manager bounce is gone, then you see the true ability of the players and the true character of the players. Because you don't win just on ability, right? You win on character. The problem is this, right? Arsenal, you can't get divorced every time you fight. You can't fire Arteta again if it was Emery's fault and even before Wenger's fault. Okay, Wenger has to take some responsibility, but it can't be Wenger, Emery, and Arteta's fault. That's not true. That cannot be true, right? That cannot be true, purely statistically. So you got to say to yourself, 7 or 8 of these players, and Arsene Wenger must swallow the bitter pill that he did this because he chose absolute control. It is Wenger's fault. I say 50% at least. He chose the players. He chose who they are. He chose the playing style. And 6 or 7 of the players that are still at the club, starting with Hector Bellerin and Granit Xhaka, those are the main 2, are nowhere near it. But if Arsenal don't see themselves as a mid-table club, then those guys are fine. Because all you're ever saying is they'll work out, right? You're in denial. People in denial, listen, I used to drink too much in my 20s. I was in denial. Nobody understands me. All right, I could be in denial. I'm a victim. Fair, fine. That doesn't change the truth that I'm drinking too much. It doesn't change the truth that Arsenal are ordinary, telling me Granit Xhaka is getting better. What? But it's because Arsenal are not accepting, and they're not grown-ups. They're behaving like petulant children. And you know what they're going to do is they're going to fire Arteta. Allegri's going to come in. Although if I'm Allegri, I don't take this job. In 6 months, trust me, we're in the same place. Honeymoon is not the marriage. In honeymoon, everyone's great. Be careful, Arsenal, because nobody wants to marry the girl after her 5th divorce. You can't keep divorcing everyone and fluttering your eyes and thinking you're gonna pick up the boys. That's not how it works. Nobody wants to marry you after the 4th divorce. Trust me, Susan. Nobody wants you after the 5th divorce. I don't care how good looking you are. Scarlett Johansson, I don't care who you are. Beyonce, I don't care. 4th, listen, I've always said 3 divorces maximum. After that, that's a you problem. That's a you problem. In fact, I say 2 divorces. 3rd divorce, that's a you problem. Arsenal, all right, you got rid of Wenger. Fine. I wouldn't count that as a divorce. All right, that's your high school relationship. You got rid of Emre. All right, divorce number 1. That's a him problem. Right? You get rid of Arteta. Okay, you say that's a him problem. You get rid of another one. That's a you problem. And I think you could even say we're already probably at that stage because some might say Wenger was the first divorce. For those who haven't heard the analogy, first divorce, I'll give you. Right? She was crazy. You were too young, blah, blah, blah. Second divorce, that's hard because often second divorce, second marriage, step kids, they're tough. Her kids, your kids, they're raised differently, work, it's tough, doesn't work out. She's got baggage, you've got baggage, doesn't work. Third divorce, that's a you problem. That's a you. And Arsenal are there now. And now Allegri and these top managers, there is no reason I would go to Arsenal because there's plenty of great ownership now in the Premier League. And by the way, stop living in the past. There's so many teams with big money, right? Forget about history. I'd rather go to Leicester. Leicester's a great job. Bottomless pits of money and dead quiet. Everton, great job. I mean, who in their mind would have thought Ancelotti would be at Everton? Everyone can compete financially now. So Wenger's problems, and it was a lie, we know now, right? It was a lie, is we're moving to the Emirates to compete with Bayern Munich. Get out of here. 6 or 7 players must leave Arsenal, and it's not Arteta's fault. Bite the bullet. Arteta gets until the end of next season. So not the end of the season. Change is hard, people. I'll tell you something. You want to find out about real change? You got to ask somebody whose partner has had an affair and they forgive them, right? Is that kind of healing? You don't do that in a month. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 years. That's what Arsenal need. Is they've been through a horrendous period of lies, divorce. It's been awful. It's been what the British might call cantankerous. It's been a cantankerous time. That's what Arsenal's been as a partner. Really moody, right? Moody, churlish, and not loving it. It's hard to be in a relationship with somebody like Arsenal. It's hard. So Arsenal need to say it's an us problem. It is not the manager, and we need to get rid of the players. 6 or 7 aren't good enough. I told you, 3 to 5 years till Arsenal are competitive. By the way, Jesse Randolph, if you're out there who's a listener of ours, I've said it. 3 to 5 years until Arsenal are back in the top 4. That's not to win the league. Forget it. You don't get... Listen, if you got weight problems, let me tell you something. I had bad habits. I don't mind talking about it. Bad habits. Big drinking. Big party guy in my 20s. Right? Stopped drinking about 8 years ago. Is if you think you're going to stop bad habits that you've had at Arsenal for 17 years in 2 years, you're kidding yourself. If you got weight problems, right? Don't speak to any friend of yours who's had weight problems and come back from it. You do that over 10 years. You don't get a weight problem in 1 year. Right? That's 6 or 7 years of bad behavior, and it's going to take probably another 3 or 4 years to really turn that Titanic around. If Arsenal think they're going to take 2 years, they're joking. 3 to 5 years to get competitive and grow up. But first, grow up, and then you can get competitive. If Arsenal fire Arteta, we start again. From the end of the season, it's going to be another 3 to 5 seasons. If they stick with Arteta, let him flush out the rubbish, and then he gets another transfer window. Bellerin, Xhaka, Holding, these guys. Lacazette probably has to go. Pepe is a flop, so I think he's going to have to go. You're going to have to really rebuild the squad because 6 or 7, listen, that's reconstructive surgery. That's not just a little bit of collagen in the lips. That is facial reconstructive surgery. That's what Arsenal need. But if they don't grow up and they fire Arteta, I'm sorry, I'm out. All right, those are my thoughts on Arsenal. But I said it. Listen, I said it. I don't want anyone getting upset. I said they'll lose 3-1. Calm down. Swallow the bitter pill. North London right now is white. It's been 4 years where they've finished above you in the league. That is not a trend. That's not like it's a pattern. It's not a trend. It's a pattern. 4 years, they're better than you. Swallow the pill. They've made better decisions. They've got more decisive ownership, and they've allowed them. Essentially, what they've done is they've got a sporting director. They've shaped the direction of the club and not worried about a manager. Anyone can manage Spurs, right? From Harry to Pochettino and now Mourinho, success, right? They've been top 4 under all of those managers. And they've got the best ownership in the league. I think Abramovich is the best overall owner, but Daniel Levy, nothing like him. Just awesome. All right, let's take some comments before we move on to United. Lifika Murobe says, I disagree, sir. I think we all care how Scarlett Johansson is. I would risk it all. Fair enough. Listen, for me, third divorce, I'm out. Scarlett Johansson, Gabriel Union, third divorce, I am out. So fair enough. Listen, there are exceptions to the rule. I accept that. Listen, I guess if I look like Idris Elba, I'd know, but I don't. So maybe, I don't know, ladies, gents, if you're Idris Elba, I guess you get 4 or 5 chances. But Arsenal, they're in big trouble right now. You've got to establish a culture. We all work at companies, right? We all work at companies where we know whether the bosses care about us or not. They can all say it. We can have our HR meetings. We can all, if you live in South Africa, we go on our retreats to the Bushveld, and they really dish out all this recycled HR nonsense that they've downloaded off the internet from documents, 1987 documents. But ultimately, after 8 or 9 months, you know what the culture is. Are the bosses late, right? How do they treat the cleaning staff? Are people late? What do we like with time? What kind of clients are we going after? You establish the culture through behavior. Listen, we are what we do, not what we say. Arsenal for 17 years have shown me what they are. Right? My grandmother used to have a great saying. She said, I see better than I hear. So we sit, as kids, you tell your granny is, I've done this. She used to go, no, I can see the rubbish over there. I can hear you telling me that, but I see better than I hear. And for Arsenal fans, you keep telling me you're a big club. I see better than I hear. It's been 18 years. We're going into the 18th year of mediocrity. So what must I do about that? We're going into the 5th year. Spurs are going to finish above you now. It's going to be 5 out of 5 years in a row. Spurs were just in the Champions League final, by the way. Arsenal haven't been near the Champions League in the last 4 years. Not near it. I don't mean like in the mix. Ooh, they just missed. Nowhere near it. And don't tell me about a Europa League final. They had no chance. And they lost to a Maurizio Sarri Chelsea. That was awful. The tactic was get it to Hazard and then get the hands together, praying hands emoji. So Arsenal, just grow up. Grow up. All right, let's talk about United. Listen, Man United, what you got to accept, and it's a bitter pill if you're anyone but United, Bruno Fernandes is brilliant. Bruno Fernandes is brilliant. But what you got to establish, right? I'm a big music fan. Is every band has a lead singer, right? Every band has a lead singer. And there's nothing wrong with being a great backup singer, by the way, because that makes a band. You got to fill in there are stars and there are star makers. I had a great meeting with somebody on Friday who said that's the polarity in art, right? Is if you're the star maker, fill that role and ensure that everything you do is to make the star look good. There's nothing wrong with being a great backup, by the way. They are incredibly valuable. Pippen to Jordan, AD to LeBron, Shaq to the great Kobe, right? D-Wade to LeBron, right? Wayne Rooney to Ronaldo and Tevez. You need a backup. You need a backup singer, right? When JT left NSYNC, okay, he was the lead singer. They were clearly, he was trapped. He was the lead singer. Everyone else, I don't know the other guy's names. I don't. But it was JT. That's the guy, Justin Timberlake, right? That's a lead singer. He's the next level. He's the one. He's the star. And by the way, being a star is not for everyone because it's not just being the most talented. That doesn't make sense. Because you got to be able to handle the pressure. You got to be able to handle the press. You got to be able to handle the criticism. That's a part of being a star. It's not just about being the most talented. Roy Keane's not the most talented Man United player of all time. Not even close. He's the greatest captain British football's ever seen. He's not Gascoigne. No, there is nobody in their right mind who thinks Roy Keane is as good as Gascoigne, as Paul Ince, even as Paul Scholes, Steve Gerrard, at their talent level. No. But you take the whole package, the talent with the leadership, and you know what I mean? Listen, Paul Pogba's the backup singer. And I think you have to accept that. In the first half, Bruno was on the bench. Rashford was on the bench. And Jared Bowen was embarrassing Paul Pogba. He was running circles around him. And I've told you before, you can't win in football if you don't control the middle. And we pay £90 million so that you can do the babysitting. Lead singers don't need to be babysat. It's the backup singers that need the babysitting. Paul Pogba is a backup singer. Accept that. It's okay. It's okay to say you're a great backup singer. And people say, I'm too harsh on Paul Pogba. All right, I tell you what, I've told you, I look for patterns in life. Everyone's great and tough and, I'm exercising. I can see when you're exercising or not. I can see. Don't tell me what you are. Show me what you are. Ex-girlfriend of mine used to say, stop telling me you love me. Show me you love me. Folks, the older we get, you are what you do, not what you say. Paul Pogba's a backup singer. And let me tell you how I know. Right. So his best years were at Juventus, right? When he Pirlo, Marchisio, Vidal. People say, okay, that's a little anecdotal. Oh, he was the star. Okay, fine. He wasn't, but okay. Let's say you're right. Then he went to the World Cup. And then he came to United and it's been a mess. Then he went to the World Cup. Then he had Sissoko with him. Then he had Matuidi with him. And then he had the great N'Golo Kante with him. Oh, he wins. By the way, add Griezmann to that, add Mbappe to that. Nobody thought that World Cup team was about Paul Pogba. And that was probably his best football, when he's just a functional part of the team, not the star, not the fulcrum of the team. So 2 examples now in his career, because he left Man United, wasn't good enough there, went to Juventus, got Pirlo, Marchisio, Vidal. He left, Juventus kept winning, by the way. Just want to point that out there. He left, Juventus were back in the Champions League final 2 years later and continued to win doubles in Serie A. So don't worry about that. It wasn't about Pogba. Stop telling me that. Pirlo, Marchisio, Vidal, that's all-time legendary. And then we saw what happened at the World Cup. Now we've seen, since Bruno Fernandes has come, it's a different Man United. And Paul Pogba's on the bench. And Fred works better with Bruno Fernandes. You know why? Because Bruno Fernandes is a lead singer. He's Beyonce. Paul Pogba's, who were the other ladies? Kelly Rowland and Michelle. Right? And that goal, everyone tells me how brilliant it was. That wasn't coming in the first half. Second half, though, Bruno Fernandes is, let me do the heavy lifting. You just do the pretty stuff. And by the way, that's not a leader. That's not a leader. That's not a lead singer. I told you, lead singer, it's not just good enough to be talented. You got to be able to deal with the media pressure. You got to be at the press conferences. You got to be at all the press junkets and out front and the criticism and all the pressure and the temptations that come with being great. Paul Pogba's clearly not dealing with that. Clearly. And it's the criticism part he's not dealing with. To whom much is given, much is expected. You know, here's the thing in life. It's why there are so few people that'll ever be CEOs. And people go, oh, they're overpaid and this. They're not overpaid. You know why they get paid more than everybody else? It's not for the good times. So people must stop saying, oh, they made all these profits. Why does he get his bonus? I'll tell you what happens. And it happens to all great companies. Is every 3 or 4 years, there's a scandal, right? That's going to cost the company 120 million rand, or if you're in America, $10 million. That's what he gets paid for. So Paul Pogba doesn't get paid for when you were winning titles under Alex Ferguson. Paul Pogba gets paid to be Roy Keane now. He doesn't get paid to be the backup singer, right? Bruno Fernandes has come as like, oh, this is what we need. A bit of character. You see Bruno feels like United, screaming, kicking. If you're not a United fan, you hate Bruno Fernandes because he's got that a little bit of that bastard about him, and it's fantastic. This is a Man United player. He came on in the second half against West Ham. If you didn't see the game, different game. My understanding is he's created the most chances in the Premier League since arriving. Paul Pogba was a backup singer again. Jared Bowen was outplaying him. Sorry. Sorry, he's a backup singer. And by the way, it's okay to be a backup singer. Just get the self-awareness. Please stop looking at Pogba's flash and hairstyles and Instagram account. Don't confuse what looks like a leader from what is a leader. Roy Keane was a leader. Paul Pogba's, come on. Listen, Paul Pogba his minutes have been reduced. Man United have been winning. It's a Bruno Fernandes, Matic, and Fred show now. They've been better without him. And I've told you, here's the other pattern, by the way. 3 seasons ago, Jose Mourinho was the manager of Man United. It's the best season United have had since Fergie left. Paul Pogba played the least games that year. Now, Paul Pogba isn't playing. They're the best they've ever been. All right. I mean, you keep arguing. Yes, Instagram. Yes, he's misunderstood. They've tried him at the 6, 8, 10. I mean, where do you want to? How many? Real leaders don't need excuses. You know, a part of leadership, right, is making it work wherever you are. That's what great leaders do. Look at the great ones. Vieira, didn't matter where he was. France, Arsenal, Inter, winning. Zlatan, put me anywhere. I'll win anywhere. Samuel Eto'o, put me anywhere. Henry, put me anywhere. Doesn't matter. Cristiano Ronaldo, put me anywhere. I'm winning. Sergio Ramos, put me anywhere. Leadership. And that's not just about ability. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know, she was asking me why her parents got divorced. And I said, love is not enough. People wonder why people get divorced. Oh, she loved him, he loved her. It's not enough because you got to work hard. There's an ugly side to being human. There's an ugly side to winning. Relationships in sport are not that different. You want to win in relationships, you better be willing to wake up early and help your partner out. Do the little things. Paul Pogba doesn't want to do the little things. He wants to curl it from the edge of the box, which Bruno set up. I'm afraid that's not good enough. You can't win like that. And it's okay. By the way, for all Paul Pogba fans, it's okay to be a backup singer. We need great backup singers. Right? Beyonce doesn't have the glory she has without Michelle and Kelly understanding their roles. We're all part of sales teams. The world is a hierarchy. We can lie on Instagram, but if you're a lawyer and you're at work, everyone knows who the big dog is, and we all fall in place. Right? We need order. Otherwise, we have chaos, and without rules, we are bad animals. And naturally, there is a natural hierarchy, and Paul Pogba is just not that guy. There's no training that. There's no infusing it in him. Let it go. Listen, Man United, I told you, you made a big mistake spending 90 million on him. We pay 90 million for you to come and change the culture, not for you to be babysat and be imbibed into the culture. I'm sorry. Pogba's got to go. Just let him go. The hassle isn't worth the output, and Bruno Fernandes is clearly the leader of the club. Sorry. All right, finish off with Jack Grealish. Let's take 1 or 2 comments from Lefika Morobe, and then I will finish off with this Jack Grealish guy. Unbelievable. Lefika says, did Bruno Fernandes make the right call heading to United, considering he was linked with other teams, such as Liverpool, for example? If not, where do you think he would fit in best in the EPL? I think he'd fit in great at Spurs because they probably need that player. Harry Kane's playing that role. I think he'd do well there. See, the problem for Bruno at Liverpool is that Liverpool's midfield is largely functional. If you think of the best version of Liverpool, and they reverted to it this season, is when you've got Henderson, probably Fabinho, and then one of Keita or whoever the other one is, Milner, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, is they're all hard-running box-to-box guys, right? Who they're grinders. They don't really have a Bruno type because Bruno wants to put his foot on the ball. Whereas Liverpool, actually, the middle three, their point is to transition the ball to Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, and you've got a defensive striker there in Bobby Firmino. They'll do the fancy stuff. Bruno wants to do that. And I'm not sure if that works in the Liverpool system because you need that front three getting the ball really early. And I don't know if Bruno would actually want to do that. As you can see, what he wants to do is put his foot on the ball. And I think the game plan for United is Bruno foot on the ball and he puts Rashford away with that brilliant pass. By the way, Juan Mata, his volley pass is out of this world. Maybe the pass of the season. Unbelievable ball. But no, I think Bruno, you know what, with that character, I just don't think he got, because what happens there? They've got Salah, Sadio Mane. Listen, Sadio Mane is quiet, and I know all the newspapers love him. Listen, when you're that good, there's an ego. Bruno strikes me as the type of guy, he wants to lead. They've already got Van Dijk. They've got Henderson. I'm not sure you can have too much of a good thing. I don't think that would work. From a tactical side and also from a personality side. I always like to look at the personality fit in football. He's in the perfect place because he looks like the type of guy, put it on my shoulders. And, he looks like he needs that challenge of let's take this great club back to where it belongs, where I think at Liverpool, he would have been joining something. And alpha males don't really like that. And I'm speaking purely for men. So ladies, forgive me. I don't know how women react to challenges, but I know alpha males, they need room and they need to be in charge. And it feels like at United, he has the chance to lead the new era. So he's going to lead Rashford, Greenwood, and the next generation. Whereas at Liverpool, he would have just been another Jota. He comes in, we'll rotate him every now and then. So no, I think he's at the perfect club for his level of ability and where he is in his career. Because I think he can still move once more. Real Madrid, Barcelona is probably, and he's at that level. I mean, he's quite sensational. Lufika says, are EPL sides too concerned with becoming financially competitive to buy players instead of developing talent in house? Well, I think that's a good question. I think EPL, and I can't be a hypocrite. I've always argued for get your local product right. I think what the EPL's obsessed with is getting the right balance between the product on the field and what we're selling between Sky Sports and sort of the sporting product. So I think they've got it right in the sense that it's more collective than anyone else. So if you go and look at how they split the financial models in Italy and Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona still get, I think, 70% of the TV revenue. And I know they did change it recently. I must just check up whether that's come this season or next season, where it's a little bit more fairly split. Whereas everyone in the Premier League gets the same share of the money pot. So no, I don't think so. I think it's understood largely that parity is king in sport. And to some extent, yes, we all want a competitive advantage, but I think all of the clubs are going, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If the product's good, it's good for us. So no, I think you'll see probably more of a balance now as the English teams establish themselves in Europe. But no, I don't think. Listen, I don't think there's time to develop in the Premier League, right? I don't think there's time to develop your own players in the Premier League, which is why what Chelsea have done and the amount of players Chelsea have in the team from the academy is out of this world. I mean, Liverpool have Trent Alexander-Arnold. Can't think of another one. Forget injuries, because I know Jones and these kids are playing, but with full team, Chelsea are still playing a phenomenal amount of people. So, and that was COVID. I guess that was a transfer thing. So I think it's a good question, but I think they've got the product versus financial side right, in my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. And lastly, with Harry Kane becoming the second fastest player behind Messi to 250 goals, are we possibly watching another Shearer in the making? And is he perhaps underrated in the conversation about greats? I don't think he's underrated. I've always said the term underrated to me is revolting. All underrated means is that you don't know how to present yourself, and there's nothing I can do about that. Manage your career, manage your life, get to where you need to be. Part of greatness is putting yourself in situations to succeed. So for me, the Harry Kane thing, again, I'm not obsessed with numbers. You can get, there's been, by the way, Harry Kane's not the first person to pile up numbers. And again, with Shearer, if it's a little Kane-centric, we can do the metrics. If it's all about Kane and you don't win, it's not enough. It's why Maradona wasn't in my top number 10s of all time, right? It's all about Maradona. I want to win. So Harry Kane, if the point is to be Alan Shearer, okay. But the problem is I've seen Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right? I've seen Samuel Eto'o in my time. I've seen Thierry Henry. Not only do they get the numbers, but I also get a trophy at least every 2 seasons. No, I'll take that. So no, I don't think he's underrated. Listen, I hope there isn't anybody who thinks he's better than Sergio Aguero or Didier Drogba or Thierry Henry, because that's just not true. That's just not true. And being the focal point, by the way, and here's one last thing. I think we must be honest. And there is nothing I hate more than people who say it's easier at a smaller club. It's not. So what I'd need to see is when Harry Kane, because at Tottenham, whether they win or lose, It's far less impressive to score goals at Tottenham and Newcastle. It's far less impressive. When you go to Man United, because then we ratchet the pressure right up. You can see Tammy Abrahams folding under the pressure a bit because at Aston Villa he was cracking it, but at Chelsea we got to win. By the way, you don't get one every 5 chances. We need 1 every 2 chances because we're playing Arsenal in a big game and we want to win that. I think Harry Kane's problem is get to the big time. Either you do it with Spurs or you move to Man United or Real Madrid and let's see what you are. Because if you can win there, if you can keep your place there. By the way, Gareth Bale, great player, couldn't keep his place at Real Madrid. It's much harder to do it with that sort of pressure because winning at Spurs, winning at Man United, non-negotiable. Winning at Real Madrid, non-negotiable. Pressure's different. And we've seen players move and it's broken them. Listen, I love and even that was too much for him. He had to go. So pressure changes everything. So no, absolutely not. No, Harry Kane is not even in the conversation. Forget it. No. So is he another Shearer? I'd say yes. Does he win a Premier League title this season and they keep going at this rate though? That changes it. Because if you win 1 or 2, even 1's not enough. I'd like to see 2 or 3. If you want to be great, we must stop calling everyone great, right? Great means you've separated yourself. You've done something that others haven't. If he wins 1 title, Jamie Vardy led Leicester, a far worse team, to a Premier League title. Can Harry Kane now actually hold the fitness together? And Harry, can you go get me 2 or 3 league titles and maybe a league and cup double somewhere? That's when we start to talk about great. Very good, you got to give it to him. He is very good. But ultimately, I need win. It's a team sport. It's not tennis. It's not tennis. So, no, I don't think he's underrated. I think he's exactly where he is, a very good player with sensational numbers. But I've seen that before. I've seen sensational numbers without winning anything, and that's no thanks. I take winning. And listen, I could name 5. The problem is Lewandowski's playing right now, right? That's what great is. Not only is he winning, but he's bringing everyone into the game, and he's got the persona to take everybody to the next level. Harry, the ball's in your court. And now, by the way, Harry Kane has no excuse. I don't want to hear he doesn't have world-class support. The bench is loaded. He's got the manager who knows of the modern era, outside of Fergie, the best Premier League manager of our era. So he's got no excuse now. It's a loaded team, fully loaded, 2 players in every position, and systematically it's built for him. You know, Mourinho has built it around Kane. Go and deliver now. And Son, who I believe is actually the best player at Spurs, is now really taking the pressure of Harry Kane. There is no excuse to not go and win the title. And if he folds again, remember, he folded against Leicester. I don't forget that. I can't call you world-class when Jamie Vardy outdid you, and that was head-to-head, right? Against Chelsea, the battle of the bridge, where were you? Sport is about moments. Greatness is about moments, right? Everybody remembers Eli Manning throwing that. It was like he shut his eyes. It was basically a Hail Mary, and he beat Tom Brady, the unbeaten Patriots. That's a moment. What's Harry Kane's moment where he says, okay, I've transcended good. I'm now great. I don't know. By the way, Spurs still haven't won a title or a trophy in, what is it now, 30 years? You got to win. To be great, do something others haven't. So, sorry, Harry. But he's very good. Listen, he's very, very good. He is very, very good. All right, let's finish off on this. Character matters more than talent. I've told you this before. This is the last time I'm going to speak about this guy. But again, this is why people must stop saying pick him for England. This is why Man United, I think, got out of jail by not paying a high. Jack Grealish, again, breaks COVID rules. Listen, if you want to be in leadership, if you want great things in your life, you don't get to behave like other people. You can't behave the same as a normal citizen. If we see the president without a mask, it's a problem. Sally down the road walking her dogs and yapping away about how, I don't know, everyone was late for brunch and she's stressed out about it. Who cares? Self-awareness. Be self-aware. If you're Jack Grealish, right, I don't want to hear about your lockdown problems and, oh, it's really getting to me. You are the Aston Villa captain. The conversation is around you. You are in a career-defining year. And you know what he's shown with this latest one? Because he had 4 drinking driving charges, right? And then he had other stuff before. He's got all sorts. And I've said to you, go and look at the guy's social media. He's not a captain. He's not a leader. He's a lad. And lads, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm a meathead. Lads can't lead. You got to grow up. So I was dead right on Jack Grealish, and I'll do where I was right, where I was wrong tomorrow. But I just wanted to say, Jack Grealish, just let's end the conversation about him in England. And I think it's too late. If I'm Man United, if I'm a serious club, there's no way. There's no way, because there's lots of talented players out there. I don't need that kind of headache. And Man United have made that mistake too many times now, because you got Paul Pogba on your hands, and look how it burns you down. Because nobody wants Pogba. If teams wanted Paul Pogba, they would have paid 100 million. You're going to have to sell Paul Pogba for 40 million now. Character matters. And self-awareness is the most beautiful thing you can ever have in a talented person. Not sure if I've told the story, but a mentor of mine always says to me, right? She always says, if you have power, because Jack Grealish is going to get away with it. And if he thinks he can keep doing this, trust me, I know professional sportsmen. I know lots of them. They don't love it when there's one rule for one and one rule for another. Because if it was another Aston Villa player, they suspend you and you might be transfer listed. But okay. My mentor said, if you have power, you must never use it. People know you're powerful. If you flex, right, it turns people off. So when you have special privileges, what you want to try and do is make people feel like they're in and amongst your special privileges. Don't flex. Don't go and show them that, yeah, I can do what I want and I'll do what I want on my rules. That turns people off. And in team environments, you lose people like that, especially in sport, because everyone's got a big ego there. By the way, everyone's rich. Just because you Jack Grealish and we're all rich, mate. So Jack Grealish, it's such a big problem. I just don't know. It's over for him. I'm out, by the way. Forget about England. Forget about leadership. Forget about Man United. Man United have got a Jesse Lingard problem. You got Greenwood to deal with. You got Pogba to deal with. You don't want to deal with this guy. Trust me. You dodged the bullet with that £100 million. You dodged the bullet. There's other talent. Forget about Grealish. By the way, I'm old enough. I saw Paul Gascoigne live. Stop saying he's Paul Gascoigne. He's nowhere near the ability of Paul Gascoigne. By the way, Paul Gascoigne did it for 5 seasons. And Paul Gascoigne did it as a bootleg and a cokehead. Paul Gascoigne was on another level. Gascoigne was the Maradona of England. For those of you who, I know you've all got YouTube, go and look up Diego Maradona and go and look up Paul Gascoigne. Jack Grealish isn't even in the same ballpark. It is, if Gascoigne is a 10, Grealish is around a 3.5. I saw Maradona live, of course, but I saw Paul Gascoigne play live at his pomp at Spurs and Newcastle. He was unplayable. Jack Grealish isn't unplayable. He's had 18 decent months. Not good months, decent months. Because David Silva, Jack Grealish's best 2 games, that's David Silva's every game. That's greatness. Stop overreacting to this nonsense. Right? Jack Grealish isn't a grown-up. He's not a grown-up. Be a grown-up. You want to lead, you want lots of cool stuff, be a grown-up. And I'll just leave you with one more line, right? That my mentor, and I'm very lucky to have great people in my life helping me along, is, she says, and she's one of the first people to ever bring rights, sports rights, and just American rights to Africans in the entertainment space. She says, if you're in a serious job, right, have a sense of humor. So if you're Elon Musk, if you're Warren Buffett, if you're old geeky Microsoft guy there, Bill Gates, have a sense of humor. And you've seen they're all quirky and, because it's a very tech is serious. Finance is serious. So you need to have a sense of humor. Bring some humor into the office, bring some idiosyncrasy, right? If you have a serious job, be funny, have a sense of humor. If you have a fun job, take it seriously. If you have a fun job, musician, sportsman, take it seriously. So fun job, take it seriously. Serious job, have a sense of humor. Mentor of mine dropped that knowledge to me about 2 years ago. One of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever heard. And if you don't believe me, when the show's over, go and look at the people you think are great in sport and look how seriously they take it. There's people muck about. They're everywhere. There's a type. But they're gone. They're gone tomorrow. For the first time, they could have held on to him. £160 million as a 19-year-old. They could have. It's Man United. Fergie said, get that out of here. Carlos Tevez, why do you think Fergie didn't sign him full? Remember, it was a 2-year loan, and then they had the option to sign him. I think it was nothing. It was £30 million, which is nothing for Man United. They said, what? And Fergie was right, because the next season, or 2 seasons later, Tevez was at Man City. Remember, he took 6 months off after under Mancini. Said, I don't want to play football anymore. If you're in a serious job, have fun. If you're the leader in a serious company, tech, finance, idiosyncrasy, comedy, make it fun at work. If you're in a fun job, take it seriously. LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Leo Messi, Andrea Pirlo. Take it seriously. This guy doesn't take it seriously. He's like, forget it. And he's nowhere near. By the way, be who you can afford to be. He's not Paul Gascoigne. Forget it. At Anfield. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Because I think if Wolves were slightly more clinical in the first half, you might have had some problems. I think, and by the way, still bet running. I still don't think Liverpool are making top 4. I've seen enough that in the last 2 games, had the other teams been more clinical, we might have seen something different. I do think Jose has this team humming right now. I think the player of the season, and I said it at the beginning of the season, this isn't hindsight if you've been watching the show, Højbjerg is the most important piece. He is the Roy Keane, right, for Mourinho. He's the guy. He's Mourinho out there. You can see it. He's got personality that I don't want to be liked. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to win. And it's Mourinho through and through. That is his best signing of all of them. And I think that is his key player. For me, Højbjerg has been, poor man's Michael Essien, if you will. But he is such a Mourinho signing. And we'll finish off with Guhle Nkosi saying, after what Paul's agent just said, he is on his way out. It's 2 seasons too late. I saw that. If you didn't see it, Mino Raiola says it is over for Pogba at United. By the way, that's not news to us. For those of us who aren't blind, if you're a Man United fan, I understand. The flash and the pomp and circumstance. Listen, folks, we've all made this mistake, right? And I can only speak from a man's perspective. You find an attractive girl and you have somebody who is maybe less attractive, but a grown-up, and you let her go. And instead of getting a relationship with her, you want to have the arm candy. 6 months into it, she drinks too much and she swears at your mother on the phone. And the grown-up, you try and go back there. And by that time, she's married, of course, with 2 kids. Because she's a grown-up, right? Pogba's the pretty girl who you want to party with on Sundays. That's only fun for like a month. You get a grown-up. Like we can all see. We're all grown-ups. How many times have you gone to a friend of yours and gone, hey, your girlfriend's crazy. Get rid of her. He's like, what are you guys talking about? She's crazy. She drinks too much. She fights with everyone at the family luncheon. And you're like, what are you talking about? Because we don't see it. So if you're United fans, and this is news to you, we've been saying it for 3 years. The guy's a prima donna and nowhere near as good as he thinks he is. And another problem with Paul Pogba, I'll say it again, he's not a grown-up. Because you're not grown-ups, for me, and I'll finish off on this, the greatest attribute of grown-ups and people that I'm really, really fortunate. I think I've got great friends. Because you know what grown-ups do? Is they don't just want the glory when things go right. When things go wrong, they accept all of the responsibility as well. So the problem with Paul Pogba and people like Jack Grealish and these guys is they want all of the glory when things go right, but none of the negativity when things go wrong. And that's not leadership, right? That's girlfriend material. You're not marrying that. Right? Your wife, your husband, ladies, or whatever, is somebody you marry, somebody who's a man or a woman, a real alpha woman, is they take all of the brunt, all of the responsibility when things go wrong. That's leadership. And by the way, in leadership, when you win, it's everybody else. When you lose, it's you. That's leadership. That's why there's so few people that can be CEOs in this world. People say, oh, why do CEOs get recycled? It's always the same CEOs. Because leadership's impossible. Greatness is impossible. You don't find it. Great, you don't. And if it was just a talent thing, Paul Pogba would be Romario, right? He'd be Ronaldinho, it'd be Kaká. But it's not just a talent thing. You also got to pitch up when it's hard. It's a grind, which is what all leadership and greatness is. Sorry, Pogba's on his way out. Like Mino Raiola's breaking news to us. Come on, Mino. I mean, come on. All right, we'll finish off with this. Lafika says, thanks, MKT. We think you're a great friend too. Damn right. On that note, before Lafika puts a negative comment, ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere tonight with anybody. You chose to be with us. Remember, Cliff Central Sport on every single platform. Cliff C Sport on the Tweet Monster. I am MKT Inspires on all social media. That's Mike Kilo Tango. For tonight, though, you could have been with anyone, anywhere. You chose to be with us. Thank you very much. I'm MKT. This is Gareth Cliff, physical distancing, Cliff Central Sport, the MKT Show. For now, the hell out of here.